God wants for us. JERE and I heard this metaphor one time that a preacher gave, that he held up this rose and he said, look how beautiful and perfect and untouched this rose is. And then he passed it around the whole church, and by the time I got back to him, it was like all withered and the petals were falling off. And he was like, now who would want this? And I was like disgusted by that metaphor.
Horrible.
I was like, that is not at all what God thinks of relationships. It's not at all what God thinks about sex. It's not at all how God sees us, because Christ looks at that rose and says, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
And so today I want to start with the framework that purity is something that we are gifted with. It's not something that you can gain. It's not something that you can lose. It's something that Christ freely gave to us on the cross. And when he shed his blood, it washed us completely clean. Mm-hmm. We've got a pure, clean slate. And so I want to look at Hebrews 10, starting at verse 22, and it says, let us go right into the presence of God with sincere hearts, fully trusting him. For our guilty conscience have been sprinkled with Christ's blood to make us clean, and our bodies have been washed with pure water. Mm-hmm. Christ has already made us pure. This is where I want to start today. It's not something that you can mess up forever. It's not something that you can just do enough good things and get right. It's something that he gave each and every one of us. And our response to him should look like integrity. It should look like being the people that we said we'd be. Being the people that we promised God we would be. And, all throughout the Bible, it talks about this idea that in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, right at the end of the chapter, it talks about God has united us with Christ, and Christ makes us pure and holy. Mm-hmm. And so I want to start that conversation here. It all starts with our relationship to Christ. It's not about what we do or what we don't do. It's about being in relationship to him. So that's where I want to start. That's where I want our foundation to be for the rest of this conversation.
Yeah, so talking about purity, growing up, I had never really heard of the word, didn't really know what it was. I was never told the values of waiting, and my parents never really had the conversation with me on how to treat a woman in a relationship. I never had anyone telling me.
Never had the talk.
Yeah, never had the talk. No one told me what I should or shouldn't do, and my friends were never a great influence. So I was always just led by the people around me, and I didn't go to one of the best schools. And I had a lot of siblings, so I was always just looking to my older siblings, looking to the kids that I went to school with, and basically I was just completely carefree when it came to this topic, and I just followed the people around me, and needless to say, I did not wait until marriage.
Yeah, and I had pretty much the complete opposite experience in my life. Some of you may know my parents had me when they were in high school, and so there was this kind of unspoken rule in our house that you waited until marriage to have sex. And I feel like, I spent most of my dating history just trying to follow that rule, just trying to do the right thing, just trying to do the thing to make my parents proud. Just trying to stay away from guys physically, just putting myself in situations where I would be set up for success and not failure. And I always felt like I was just following a list of rules. I was following an expectation. And I knew my parents wanted that for me. I knew they didn't want me to be put in the same situation that they were put in. I knew that God wanted that for me. But I didn't really know why. I never really got the why. I understood what was expected, but I don't think I ever really knew why I was making that decision. And So this point of view kind of created a lot of fear in me, and it created this idea that I think part of me thought like sex is bad, like that's something that you don't do, that's something that you stay away from. And I brought that into our marriage a little bit. And so I want to have this conversation because I don't want that for you. I don't want that for us. But we had opposite experiences growing up, and neither of them were really right. Neither of them were what God thinks about relationships and marriage and sex. It was what our, growing up taught us and how we felt about ourselves. So today we want to talk about really what is God's view? Why does the Bible say the things it does? Why does He want this for us? Really, what's the why?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to kind of talk about the story of like how we met. So Lex and I had like known each other for a handful of years, but never really talked. There was a couple times in passing where like we had a conversation. It was super embarrassing because I was like just so nervous to talk to her. And then a couple of years went by, and I remember sending her a message on Instagram or something. Yeah, and was seeing if she wanted to. I think she said that there was this thing. They had this thing called Thrive, which is like 20-somethings. I know Tay has a group. It was kind of like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like midweek, like a service
for
young people.
So she was going to this Thrive, and she asked if I wanted to come with her or meet her there. And I show up, and I've seen her do worship downstairs and stuff, but I've never seen her like up close because I ended up sitting front row, and she was just like by herself with a guitar singing, and I was just like sitting in the front like mesmerized by her. And the whole group of people, there was like 30 or 40 people, they all said that they were going to Applebee's afterwards, and I asked Lex if she wanted to go, and she's like, absolutely not. I am not going to Applebee's. I got a bunch of homework. I got school in the morning. I'm not going. So I was like smooth talking to her a little bit, like, come on, let's just go get something to eat, talk for a minute. So she ended up giving in. We go to Applebee's, and there's like a group of like 30 or 40 people sitting at this long table, and Lex and I are all the way at the one end, and we were there for like 2 hours, and it literally felt like it was just us there. Yeah. She was looking through the music on my phone, making fun of me, and it wasn't that bad.
It still isn't great.
It's exceptional. But after this, being there for a couple hours, I ended up walking her to her car, and I said, would you want to do this again minus the 30, 40 people, and it just be us? And after she left that night, something felt different about this, the way I was approaching this potential relationship. I remember going home and then the next morning telling my mom, like, this is the girl that I'm going to marry. And I felt this overwhelming sense of excitement.
Yeah, I think it was like maybe our third date, and you had approached the subject of intimacy and relationships and kind of like your past, and how you had 2 long relationships, and you didn't love the way that those relationships, the outcome of them. Mm-hmm. And so you just talked to me about how you wanted this time to be different, and you talked about how you got sober and you found Christ, and you really wanted to wait for marriage with the next person you were with. Even though you didn't wait, you wanted the next person. Yeah. You wanted to wait with them. And I really valued that conversation, for sure.
Yeah, it was, that's exactly what it was. I was in 2, like, long, intimate relationships, and neither of them ended healthy. Someone was hurt, and at the same time, I was, like, going through an addiction and stuff, and I ended up getting sober, and a part of me, like, in my connection with Christ was, like, telling me, like, the next person that I get in a relationship with, like, I want to wait. And I want to do it because of Christ. And I didn't really know why, like what was compelling me. Like no one was like pushing that on me at all. It was just like something I felt in my heart.
Yeah.
And I brought that up to you.
Yeah, and I felt like it was a really refreshing conversation because in my previous relationships, it felt like I would bring the subject up and said, hey, this is something that I'm doing. This is something that I really want to do in my life. And I felt like the guys I dated just like played the game. We're just like, yeah, we could do that. Like, no problem. That's cool. But it really just felt like they were doing it for me, not because they had a relationship with Christ or wanted that for themselves. And so it was just refreshing hearing you bring it up and you say, like, this is my choice, and the next person that I want to be in a relationship, I want them to have that same choice. I want us to start from this foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we started, and we started our relationship talking about these hard things and really trying to put Christ at the center of our relationship and honor him with our decisions, honor him with our actions. And you know, it was cool because I feel like it really allowed us to get to know each other really well. I feel like the boundaries that we put up and the values and priorities we put on our relationship allowed us to just become best friends.
Yeah.
Like it felt so fun and light, and it wasn't messy and complicated by all the things that come with intimacy. It was just like almost like childlike. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just remember feeling so light and excited to learn more about you every day. We would talk every day for hours, and we would go to the park and just like do cartwheels and play in the water. Like it was just, it was lovely. It was beautiful, and you know, we did put boundaries on our relationship. We would not do like sleepovers or you know, be in a bedroom alone together. And so we had some of those like obvious boundaries, but then we also had priorities that I thought were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That actually acted as a boundary, but it wasn't meant to. Like we'd made such a priority out of being in community with people, being around people, not only being alone, but being around each other's families.
Yeah.
Seeing how we mesh with your brothers and sisters and my brother and sister, and we really grew such deep friendships and relationships out of that time of being in community with the people that were closest to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved that part of it. And we didn't always get it right. We didn't do everything perfectly, but we knew that we wanted to keep our promise and we wanted Christ at the center.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk to the people that raised their hand when they said they were single for a minute. Because I know this seems like a relationship topic, and you feel like I'm not in a relationship, so why does any of this pertain to me? But I want you to know that most of my problems in all of my relationships came because I didn't get it right when I was single. They came because I didn't handle the singleness the right way. And there's a lot of things that I didn't do when I was single or when I was dating that I thought would be fixed when I got married. And I feel like this is like a super common thing, but we're always focused on waiting for the right person, right? Like if you're single, you're who's this right person that's going to come into my life? But the thing with this is there's a lot of right people for each and every one of us. And we shouldn't be focused on the right person. We should focus on how do we become the right person. Yeah. We should be focusing on like what is God stirring up in our hearts to make us become the right people, right? I feel like I did a sermon a couple years ago on, it was a Craig Groeschel sermon series on pre-deciding. And in this sermon, the main idea of the sermon was we all have this imaginary line, and everyone's line's different, but this is a line that we don't want to cross in our life. Like it can be addiction, it can be sex before marriage, whatever it is. But we have this line that we don't want to cross. But the problem with that line is we like to get really close to it. Like I stood, and sometimes we like to even like put our foot over or stick our head on the other side of the line. But the issue with that is this lie I would tell myself was, it doesn't matter what I look at on my phone because I'm not in a relationship right now, so I'm not hurting that other person. Or it doesn't matter what conversations I'm having with my friends because I'm not dating that girl that we're talking about, so it's not hurting them. It might not be hurting them, but it is hurting someone, and it's hurting you. I promise you that the things that you don't get right in singleness, you will carry, and I carried into my relationships, not just my marriage. But there are things that I did carry into our marriage. So I really wish that like I had, because in the beginning I said like I didn't have anyone telling me the path I should go on. And I wish I had someone that at least told me to figure that stuff out when I was single, so I didn't carry it into my relationships and our marriage. So in the sermon series I was talking about, where you have this line in the sermon, he talks about moving or making a new line, so you don't even get the chance to get up to that line. So for me, I ended up putting restrictions on my phone. I was very adamant about the type of movies that we watched together, so I didn't have to like see something on the screen that I didn't want to see. I just made it a priority in my life to create less temptation, because for me at the time, temptation was at that line, and I wanted to just move away from that. So Lex and I, obviously, we didn't get everything right, but we truly did want to.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that we did was, instead of focusing on how do we just have the best marriage in the future, we tried to focus on, all right, if I want to have a good marriage in the future, I got to focus on what I'm doing today. Mm-hmm. And we definitely didn't always get it right, but one thing I really valued about you, and one thing I watched you do, is fight every single day for integrity. You fought to be the man that you said you would be. You fought to be the man that you promised God that you would be. And ultimately that did set us up better for when we did get married. Mm-hmm. We weren't expecting marriage to fix all of our problems, but we were fighting now so that in the future we didn't have to bring those problems with us.
Yeah.
And I feel like in our relationship, you know, waiting for marriage created a lot of safety in between us.
Yeah.
I felt like because you valued me, because you said, you know, you're worth it for me to wait. I want to honor you. I want to protect you. It created the most lovely type of safety in our relationship and in our marriage. And you know, it's not a one-time choice. It's not like you either choose to wait for marriage and then you can do whatever you want, and it's also not you didn't wait, so now I messed it up. It's not going to work out for me. It's too late. It's like we said at the beginning, it's not how it is. You know, God already made us pure through Christ. And so it's not that you're fighting for purity, you're fighting for integrity. You're fighting to be the person that you promised you'd be. You're fighting to be the person that God is calling you to be. And it's important to fight for that integrity before marriage, like JERE said, like in your singleness and your dating, like mm-hmm. creating boundaries and restrictions for yourself. That's really important. And it's also really important to have that same integrity inside of marriage. I think that once you get married, it's sometimes even more so important to put those boundaries up, to put those restrictions up. It's not like you can just drop all of the purity and integrity once you get married. It's not like this one-time event where it's like, I waited and now it's over. It's an everyday thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's an everyday battle. It's an everyday fight for integrity. And I want to talk about why. So I want to talk about why is this God's best plan? Why does He ask us to do this?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is sex is like more than just physical, right? Like there's a part of our non-physical being that it like attaches to, and it kind of attaches to it for life. And so God's view, when you're married, it's the idea of two people becoming one, right? So sex is designed for marriage because it's showing that person that you've committed to, that you've committed to them forever.
Yeah.
It's this forever expression, and it's a way of showing that. It's telling them that it's you and me forever, and it's permanent.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sex outside of marriage is trying to create that promise of marriage without any of the vows. It's trying to create the idea of marriage without the promise, which in most cases, in every scenario of my life, caused hurt for someone. And when it's not used the way it's designed, you're trusting your body to somebody that, you know, one of you can leave and you can be extremely damaged for a long time. And when you're intimate with someone, you are fully knowing them, and at the same time, you are being fully known by them. And experiencing that promise of forever experiencing that without the promise of forever just kind of cheapens the expression.
Yeah, I think, God designed sex for a beautiful thing and a beautiful purpose. And like JERE's saying, it's a way to show your spouse that you're committed to them forever. That's why He designed it. He designed it so that we can express and communicate to the person that we committed to, hey, it's you and me. And this is me showing you that I'm yours, you're mine, and it's no one else. It's you and me. It's there's an exclusivity about it.
Yeah.
And it's really a beautiful thing. It's not a rule. It's not a command. It's not something that is forced upon us for no reason. It's something that God designed beautifully, and He did it because He loves you. He asked us to do this because He is for you. And when you are physically intimate with someone outside of marriage, and there is a breakup, there's so much pain there that didn't need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to protect us from it.
Right.
He's trying to save us from that pain and that heartbreak. And that's why He asked us to do it. But it's not something that we can't. Obviously, if we already made the decision, like, we can't go back, but we can go forward. And so I think that I want to be gentle with you in the room. I don't know your history. I don't know your background. I don't know what's been done to you. I don't know the decisions that you made yourself. But I do know that God is calling you to a beautiful, beautiful purpose, mm-hmm. and a life that is it's filled with so much joy and love. And when we are connected to Him, it's not about what happened to us. It's not about what we've done. It's not about what we will do. But it is about our connection to Him. Mm-hmm. We're already made pure. We're already made right. We're already justified through Christ. We can't mess it up, and we can't get it right. We can't make it perfect. It's a gift. And because of that gift, our response should be to honor Him, to honor our bodies, to honor our future spouse. Um, and he knows what's best for us. He knows how much hurt can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves you, and he is for you, and he's trying to protect you.
So your past doesn't have to look the same as your future, right? Like I didn't wait for marriage in my past, but I did wait with Lex. And what's really important to us, to Lex and I, is that nobody in here feels like they've messed anything up already, right? Like even though I didn't wait for my wedding day, I still felt purified by Christ, and I wanted to live differently because of him. Yeah. And I wanted to honor him with my body. I wanted to be the man that I said I would be. Even though my past was different at that time, like knowing that I wanted to marry you, I wanted to be the man I said I would be until we got married. So that's why I'm saying that I did wait with you. It all comes down to your relationship with Christ. It was definitely worth trusting him with that part of my life. And in my past, I hadn't really trusted him with anything. But it wasn't about my past. It wasn't about the mistakes that I still have yet to make in my future. It's all about the connection that I have to him and fighting each and every day for integrity for myself. Purity isn't only about waiting for marriage, right? It's more than that. It's the whole thought life. It's the way you think. It's the way you allow yourselves to think about other people. It's the way that you allow the people around you to talk about certain people. It's what situations you're allowing yourself to be put in. It's how you're talking about certain people. It's how you're looking at guys. It's how you're looking at girls. This battle for integrity and being the person that God has designed us to be is something that we need to be fighting every single day for, striving every single day for, to be a person of integrity. Yeah. So when we become the right person, when we become the right one and not focus on looking for the right one, we become a partner that blesses the person that we're essentially waiting for. And doing that, Lex and I, has extremely blessed our marriage. So I want us to stop focusing on the right person and start focusing on how can we become the right person? How can we become the person that God has called us to be?
Yeah, I think that the thing I love about the verse that I shared in Hebrews is that it connects trust with Christ purifying us. And I love that the author is saying, because Christ has made you clean, because he has purified you, you can trust him with it. Mm-hmm. He's trustworthy. He's worthy of each and every aspect of our life. He's worthy of how we treat people. He's worthy of what we allow ourselves to look at or to not look at. He's worthy of trusting with our future and trusting that he has something beautiful designed for us. And so maybe today can be that day where you decide to have that conversation with him and you say, you know what, God, this is what my life looks like. This is what my relationship looks like. This is what my singleness looks like. Mm-hmm. What do you want? What do you want from my life? What can I give away? What can I let go of? What can I hand over to you and trust that your plan is better? Mm-hmm. That your way is the best way. And no one can make this decision for you. Not your parents, not us, not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend. This is between you and God.
Yeah.
And I promise he will prove himself faithful. Mm-hmm. It's not for nothing. It's not just a rule. It's something beautiful that he designed. And when you're connected to him, when you're connected to the vine, the fruit of our life is so lovely. so beautiful, and it's what he intended. And he's worthy of our everything. So I encourage you to trust him. I encourage you to talk to him. Let's pray.
Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you for giving Lex and I this opportunity to speak on this topic. I pray that someone in this room was able to take at least one thing away from our conversation. I pray that you would just continue to stay close to us. I thank you for every single person that you brought here this morning. I thank you for their kindness, their friendship. I thank you for allowing me to be a leader up here and getting to know each and every single one of them. I just pray that you would be with us through this week, and I pray that we can focus on you, Father. We can listen and lean into the things that you're trying to speak to us. I just love you, I thank you, and I praise you. And it's in your Son's name I pray. Amen.